It's time to find out what's cooking. Here now is the head chef of the Pemberton Township High School Food Service Program and your host, Tim Paroli.
Hello, welcome again to What's Cooking. I'm Tim Paroli. Today we're going to show you a dish that we haven't done for a while, and it may be a surprise to some of you, but it's a chicken dish. It's a twist on a classical note, and it's also a way that if you're eating what we now call heart-wise, it's a dish you can modify and change to suit your particular needs and tastes. And the dish that we're going to prepare is a breast of chicken Florentine. However, this is going to be a little different than a classical Florentine where the chicken is deboned and the breast is just pulled over top. We're going to show you a new twist on that today. I'd like to begin with the recipe for that because the recipe list is very simple. It's the same as classical Florentine. As I said, the only twist is going to be in the preparation. And it's not just a plain old stuffed and baked breast. This one's going to be stuffed and then sauteed. We need a chicken, some spinach, onion, flour, oil, salt, pepper, and nutmeg. And we're going to take those ingredients and then we're going to show you how to bone and split the breasts on a chicken. Then we're going to fill them with the spinach and the onion. We're going to dredge it in some flour and saute it. Then this dish can be either finished or held in the oven. Many times we have a dish that we prepare for you, and I know I tell you that this is a great dish that can be frozen and microwaved later. And I know sometimes that I don't get back to you at the tail end of the program to tell you. So I'm going to tell you right now so I don't forget. The chicken we have today is a fresh chicken. We're going to have some byproducts from that can be frozen. And as we get them, I'm going to tell you how to microwave them. The dish that we're going to show you today, until we get to the part where we put it in the flour and cook it, you can take it then, wrap it tightly, and freeze it. Or you can take this chicken dish, cook it lightly, and then cool it, wrap it, and freeze it. So there are two different stages on almost every recipe that you can take them and get them ready for the microwave. One is right before you cook it, and the other one is immediately after it's cooked for the first time. Then it can be cooled quickly, preferably on something shallow in the refrigerator. Then we want to wrap it as airtight as possible and freeze it, and then it can be microwaved in that very same container. So remember those two steps today. Right before I cook it or right after I cook it, if you're going to freeze it or microwave it, that's when you do it. So we're going to begin by taking a whole chicken, and we're going to show you, it's sort of a review for many of you who have seen the program. We're going to take this, get this out of the road, and we're going to show you the parts of a chicken just in case you haven't. You've been buying them already broken down. And the reason that we want to show you this is because the price of chicken from when you buy them just the way we have it here compared to the price of chicken already cut is crazy. I say it's crazy because it's only going to take you a moment or two to split these chickens and to get them ready for service. Very, very simply. The chicken right now is on its back. When the feet are in the air, the chicken is on its back. These are the wings. And before we begin to do anything with that, we always pull them out so that we have all of the joints in order so that when we begin to cut them, we will be able to, your chicken's going to look like the one I've got here today, and that's very important. I don't want you confused later on. We're going to do something a little fancy today, and what I'm going to do is normally we could take the wing off all the way back here where it joins the chicken. We're going to go out here to this first joint, and we're going to cut that right there. And you just take the knife right through there, and I'll break that and then cut right through it. And that wing you can use, or we're going to throw that in our stock pot today. And we're going to do the same with the other wing. Now I'm doing this first because it's a lot easier with the chicken, the weight of the chicken to hold that when you're by yourself. You just pull that and let that hold it. Then we're going to get the legs out of the way. So all I'm cutting right here is the skin from the legs of the chicken. We're going to split them down right out of the way like that. Now we're going to go around to the front of the breast portion. So for me, I'm going to turn the chicken, and where the neck is, or was, I'm going to open up that skin just a little bit. And right in there is the wishbone, and all you have to do is cut in against that, and you will find that wishbone. And once you find that wishbone, just put the knife behind it and cut down like that. Now I'm going to show you again. All you do is cut right in against it like that, and just put the knife under that wishbone and just go right down towards your cutting board. And remember, don't cut towards yourself at any time. So I've got the two bottom halves of the wishbone out. And what I'm going to do now is hold the bottom half of the wishbone and pull. And that's the smaller half, so I lost. The larger half, I'm going to just snap that right off. Now, the wishbone is out, and the skin can go back down because we're going to leave this one with the skin on. Again, if you want to modify this, that's when you could take it off. The skin could come off now. And we find out where that little keel bone is. There's a little bone right down the center. We're going to just lay the knife to one side or the other. But whatever side we pick, we keep the knife against the chicken. And we cut straight in and straight down toward where the wing is attached to the chicken body. And then we're just going to tip it over on its side, and we're going to pull that right off. And all I'm doing is keeping the knife against the chicken, and I'm pulling that off. And I'm leaving that little tender can stick. That's the chicken tenderloin. We're not after that today. So we have our chicken breast there. And we're going to pull the other one off, and then we're going to be all set. So we just cut that around the back, right through the joint. And we go right around with that. And we pull that right off. And I just hold it with the knife and pull. Now we have the breasts off. Again, I said you're going to have some of the byproducts. And if you're going to do several chickens at once, you'll have these what we call chicken tenders. And they're very nice to be breaded like that or cut in bite-sized pieces. But today we're going to throw that in there because we have a recipe for a very easy chicken soup to show you. Now we're not going to use the legs today, but what I'm going to do is just pop them off of here and hang on to them. So we just snap them right off, and we take the knife and separate the leg from the body. And again, we just pop that leg bone out and keep the knife against the chicken and pull the leg right off. So we have a pair of chicken legs if we were going to put them in the freezer to barbecue. The carcass is going into that water that we have over there. And what we're going to do with that is let that simmer now. And we're going to use that when we get ready to make our sauce. We'll have some chicken stock ready to roll right there. And all that was some hot water, so we haven't started anything ahead of time on you today. When we do that, I like to let you know. Now we're going to take the chicken and we're going to split a little pocket in here, and it's very simple. All you have to do, depending upon how it was when you took it off, one side or the other is going to be a little thicker than the other side. So what I want you to do is pick out the side that appears to you to be the thickest. There's that little piece of wishbone, we got that off. And lay the chicken breast down and keep your hand out of the way and just put the knife right in there and just give it a pull. Nothing real fancy, just put a cut right in it, just like that. All right? Now I kept the skin side down. Now we've got kind of like a little pocket cut in that chicken breast. We're going to do the other one now. Usually the front part here is going to be largest. So I want to put the skin side down, and this time, since I'm doing the other breast, I'm going to cut away from myself, going the opposite way, and just put the knife in there and just move it right on down. If you don't get it perfect, don't worry, as long as you've got some chicken meat on the bottom in there. And I lucked out today, you're saying, but the reason that they look so nice and so easy to do is because the knife is very, very sharp. Whenever you're going to work with any meats, or especially chicken, the whole secret is to make sure that the knife is sharp. Now we're going to take our some onion, and we're going to just cut that up. And again, these are very, very, very simple to do. So we're going to just a couple slices of that. And we're going to just cut them up small. Now, a lot of us pay a lot of money to buy foods like this that are pre-prepared and processed, and I'm showing you how difficult these are to do. We've got some spinach there, frozen or raw. If you're using raw spinach, make sure that you wash it very, very well. I'm doing this right on the board, right where I'm working. We're going to put some pepper over top of that, a pinch of nutmeg, hardly any, so that you can barely see it, then some salt, and then some garlic powder. Now, if you look at that, that's right on the board, just the way I told you. And all I'm going to do is mix this up by hand, right on the board where I'm working. Now, if you're doing a whole batch of these, you could make up, one day you could have your spinach made up, or broccoli, or anything that you want to put in there. A variation on this is a broccoli and cheese. That's all I got to do is mix that like that. Now, I take that chicken breast, and we're going to put half of that right in there. Take that other one over here, and we just stuff the other one right in there. Just like that. No big deal to it. We're going to turn that back over, and I want to just put that back together. There we go. Just the way it would look if it did not have the bone out of it. And you can see how full that looks right now from the stuffing being in it. And once I have that so it looks nice, now it goes right into the flour. So there's the bottom. I make sure I have that sealed over and right into the flour. And then we're going to do the other one the same way. Just going to pull that skin right over top of that. Squeeze that in there. Remember, this isn't the type of a stuffing that's going to grow, so we're not going to have a problem with it. There. Now, we're going to put a little bit of oil in our saute pan. Roll that around, and we're going to have that set. And we're going to put our chicken breasts in here. We're going to start them out skin side down. Now, these could be breaded. If you like a breaded chicken breast, then just run them through our standard breading procedure, which is very easy to do. Now, what I'm going to do, I have the skin is on both sides of this. So where the seam is on the chicken, I'm going to cook that side. There's the seam on the chicken where we have the stuffing. This is going down in the pan, just like that. So that's in there, and we're going to put the other one in there. Get that stuffing back in there. There we go. Pull that back over, and I'm going to drop that right into the fat next to the other one. Now, these already look enormous. The reason for that is that we left the skin on, we put plenty of the spinach in there, and we left that wing joint on. By trying to cut that wing joint off, until you get really, really good at it, you're going to keep pulling a little piece of the breast meat away with it, and you're going to shrink the size of the breast down. So all I have to do with this now is cook these lightly on each side because there's no eggs inside of it, so we don't have to worry about that. So while that's cooking, I'd like to show you our second recipe, which is going to be for a sauce to go over top of these. Now, the sauce we're going to make is just a little bit different than our regular chicken sauce. What we're going to use is some of that chicken stock, some flour, and some butter, milk, salt, and pepper. And all we're going to do is make a roux out of the flour and the butter, and I'm going to tell you a way you can get away without doing that if you want. We're going to add our stock to that, simmer that, and then we're going to finish that with a little bit of milk. And that's going to give us what's known as a supreme sauce. All right, so the chickens, what I want to do with these is just turn these once now, and then I'm going to get them out of our way. Now, you're probably wondering how we can turn these without them falling apart. And the reason we can do that is because this is all meat around that. And once that meat is cooked like that, it's going to stay and coagulate and stay nice and tight right around that. So that is how we do that. There's no trick to that. It's just since we have all the skin and the meat wrapped around that, that makes that really hold together nice. And now I've got that turned over. I'm looking for a little bit of color on the skin. And as soon as I have that, we're going to put these off to the side or in the oven. And again, this would be a very good time to take these off and freeze them. So while I'm watching these, because we are going to eat these today, I'd like to remind you folks at home that if you have any questions or you'd like a recipe of anything that we're showing you here on the program today, be sure to send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to What's Cooking, care of Channel 15, PTHS number 2, Arnie's Mount Road in Pemberton, New Jersey. And our zip code is 08068.
The floral arrangements seen on the set of What's Cookin' are provided by the Cranberry Blossom Floral Company, 120 Hanover Street in Pemberton, New Jersey. The Cranberry Blossom Floral Company specializes in flowers for all occasions, including those special designs for parties and weddings. That's the Cranberry Blossom Floral Company, your FTD florist in Pemberton, New Jersey. Call area 609-894-8080.
No matter what you're running from, there's someone to run to. Covenant House. No matter what your problem is, we're here to listen. Wherever you are, we can get you help. So call us now on the 9 line. It's free. 1-800 and keep dialing 9.
Welcome back. 5 minutes cooking time since you left me. I put another saute pan over it since we're going to enjoy these today. And if you take a look at these, we got the color because we put them on the skin side, browned them up, and then I put this other saute pan on it just to let them steam a little bit. So they're cooked, they're just about ready to go. So before I dry them out, we're going to put that little lid back on them and I'm going to set them to the side for right now. And I'm going to do that because they will finish cooking on their own, and while that's happening, we're going to make up our supreme sauce. And the sauce is very easy to do. We gave you the recipe, and what we're going to show you, I'm going to tell you a couple ways. When you see me picking up the butter, you can think of olive oil. If you see me picking up flour and you can't have that, then I want you to remember that there are other thickeners that you can use. And if the flour is bad, it's because it's mixed with the butter most of the time. So what we're going to do, we're going to have butter today. If you wanted to make this and you were going to use olive oil with the butter, then that's fine. If you wanted to eliminate the fat in this sauce, what you would do then is start out with about a quart of the stock that's boiling, and then you would mix about 1/2 cup of cornstarch in some cold water, throw it in there, stir it, and you'd have your sauce without any of the fat in there. But we're going to add some of the fat here because we cooked the chicken in an olive oil. It's got its skin on, that's true, but there's no heavy filling in it like we're used to, or like I'm used to anyway. So now we've got our butter melting. I'm going to shake some of this flour in there. And all we're making here is a thickener. And this thickener is called a roux. I'll take a little bit of that butter out, put it back, and then we're going to add the flour to this. Now, we put this pan on the fire just as we came back, and if you see, it takes it a moment or two before it even begins to change. And the reason is, this is a very thick, heavy pot. Whenever you're making any of your sauces, you want to try and use the heaviest gauge or the thickest pot you have, and that will minimize your chances of burning what you're preparing. All right, now, the amount of flour is gauged by the amount of butter. It usually works out to be an equal amount in proportion. And we want to add that just till we get that look right there of wet sand. That's what we're after, and it's only going to take just a moment to cook that. And now we go over to our stock pot, which we have going now, because we started that at the top, and we're going to put a couple ladles of the hot stock in there. Now take a look what happens right after I put this in here. Since this stock is very hot, it immediately thickens. And I'm going to make this just a little thinner than I want it, because once this returns to the boil, it's going to thicken. Now I'm going to enhance or pump this flavor up a little bit with a bouillon cube. And that's going to be about all the seasoning that we're going to have to put to this. However, I will check it. And we're going to lighten this up just a little bit more, just a little bit of milk. And that's all we have to do with that. And then we're going to, there we go. Let me just see how that tastes. Not bad, a little flat, so what I'm going to do is put about 1/2 cube back in there. And I'm not going to put any pepper in there because I've got onion and pepper and everything inside the chicken breast. So I want this to be kind of a mild flavor so that we don't have a very strong sauce with a very strong meat there. We want one to offset the other. And now we're finished with that. So I'm going to switch these two pots around. And while I'm doing that, I'd like you to see our recipe for a chicken egg drop soup. The name of the soup is stracciatella. It's Oriental in origin. It's very famous in Italian cuisine also. For Italian cuisine, they would add to your list of ingredients there, we would add little tiny meatballs, and then it's called bride soup. So today we're making just a plain old stracciatella or egg drop soup. And what you need is chicken stock, which we have, spinach, onion, and some eggs. And what we're going to do is we're going to boil and simmer the stock. We'll add some onion and spinach to that, bring it back to the boil, and then we're going to lightly beat some eggs, and then we're going to string them into the soup. We're going to show you how that's done, and then we're going to test it again for seasoning, and it will be ready to serve. I'd like to show you this stock pot right now. At the top of the program, when I first put the chickens in here, the water was kind of a cloudy color. But if you look now that it has just come to a boil, it has cleared up, and it has just a very faint yellow color to it. But I can see through to the bottom of this already. So that stock is looking pretty well. Now, that's going to be strong enough for what I want to do today, because I try to prepare this that if I didn't have all the time, if you have all the time in the world, you can cook this for as long as you'd like. But if you don't, I'm trying to show you the shorter way to do it. And you can use the bouillon cube to pump that flavor up and get it up to where the taste is just the way you like it. So we're done with those bones. I have those couple pieces of chicken tenderloin. We're going to cut them up. I'm going to throw them into the soup. And now what I want to do is see what kind of flavor we've got built in there. All right, now the chicken flavor is very mild and it's very flat. So that's two things we can fix. First of all, it's flat, so we're going to put some salt to it. And a little garlic. And I'm going to put a little white pepper in there. And then we're going to give it some real strong flavor with a little bit of that base. If you don't want to use the base, then I suggest throw the chicken legs in there and cook it for about an hour, and you will get a real strong chickeny flavor. Now we're going to put some onion in there. And this soup is very nice because I tell you all the time that you can make the different things from the chicken that's left over. And here's one time where we're putting it all right into a pot, and you're going to get to see the result of that. And it's no big deal how you cut the onion. Some dishes we do, I tell you that it's got to be diced or what have you. These are good if they're just kind of sliced, left a little long, a little random in size. That's what you want, and they're going to look nice like that. And then we're going to take some of the spinach, and that goes right in there. I'm using chopped spinach for the obvious reason that it's very, very easy. All I have to do is just keep breaking that off and putting it in there till I get the amounts of spinach that I want, so that I have it the way by the appearance I'll know I have enough in there. If you like a lot of spinach, then go to it. If you don't, put hardly any in there, but you want some of it in there. And now that spinach is still semi-frozen when it goes in there, so that stops that from boiling. We're stirring that around. I'm waiting for it to come back to the boil. I'm going to real quick check that. And I want to make sure that I get the stock from underneath, not just the fat on top. Yeah. Needs salt. Okay, it needs salt because we're going to be adding eggs to this, so I want it to have plenty of salt so that we can season the eggs. One more. You're not going to eat this, I am. So now we're going to take, while I'm waiting for that to come back to the boil, and it's just coming up now, we're going to crack a couple of eggs. And what we're going to do is slightly beat these eggs. Yeah, I think I can do it with the other hand. So what we're going to do is just very slightly beat these eggs. All right, just want to break up the yolks a little bit. And then that gets, with a fork stirring that, gets put right into the soup pot. And if you stir that around as you do it, just as I have, they will string and float right to the top. The other thing that it does immediately is it lightens that soup up. So if you have seen this soup and had it, and the color has been very bright and very intense, and as you're making it, you're thinking, uh-oh, what did he tell me now? It's very dark in color. Remember, when you put the eggs to that, it's going to lighten right up. So I'd like to put a couple of platters together so you see how nice all of this looks. And what we're going to do, push my board together here, we're going to go get our chickens now, and we're going to see how nice they have held up waiting for us. Remember, these are the type of dishes I like, that the dish waits for me to get ready. I don't have to wait around for it. You can prepare it, have it all set and ready to go, and it's going to work out really nice. All you do is pick off one of them, put a little bit of the sauce right over the top. It should coat it and leave a nice little puddle there. And then we're going to put that with a very nice light soup, our stracciatella. And then I'd like to review these recipes with you, because if you didn't write them down and now you said, gee, it looks better than it sounded, here we go. We did a stuffed sauteed chicken breast, and that was a chicken breast that we split. We used chicken and spinach and onion, and we dredged it with flour, oil, salt, pepper, and nutmeg because of the spinach, and nutmeg is going to give that a nice flavor. So we bone and split the breast just like we'd stuff them normally, except we put a pocket in them, nothing fancy. Filled that pocket with spinach, floured it, and sauteed it. Now these can be, you can either finish them in the pan like I did, lightly covered, or you can hold them in the oven, and they'll hold for about an hour. Then we took them out and we put them right on our plate, and we made a supreme sauce for them. And for supreme sauce, we used our hot water and leftover chicken parts and made chicken stock, flour, butter, milk, salt, and pepper. And we made a roux out of the flour and the butter, about a tablespoon of each. And then we put in about 2 cups of the hot stock, brought that to a simmer, and we finished it with the milk to lighten it up. And then our stracciatella, or egg drop soup, is our chicken stock. To that, we threw in there literally some onion and some spinach and some eggs. And all you have to do is bring it to a boil, chop them up, throw them in there, and then when it returns to the boil, you add your slightly beaten eggs to it. And you see we have fare today that is very, very light for you, and it's very light work in the kitchen. This is Tim Paroli. Thank you for watching.